Okay, we'll call the Shakopee City Council meeting to order for February 18th, 2025. If we could take the roll, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Delaney.
Here.
Councilmember Whiting.
Here.
Councilmember Lara. Here. Mayor Lehman.
Here. Item number 3, Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, we have special presentations. 4A is 2025's Officer of the Year Award, and then Mr. Chief Tate will present.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. This is always a special night and something we're very proud of tradition-wise at the Shakopee Police Department is to present our Officer of the Year Award. I know you've heard this before, but this is an award completely nominated and selected by the people at the Shakopee Police Department. Tonight we're here to honor our 2024 Officer of the Year, Officer Seth Perrier. Now, Seth received 5 different nominations from his peers, 5 different peers for Officer of the Year. There's a reason all these people are here and out in the hallway. Some highlights from these nominations, and these are quotes. Always treats people with respect and dignity. He is a great example of what an officer should be. Always doing something positive and proactive, showing his drive and determination to keep our community safe. When you think of who best demonstrates the core values of this police department, you think of Officer Perrier. I could not agree more. There are countless examples that back up those comments from his peers. Seth was recognized by the Department of Public Safety in 2024 for a proactive stop he made at one of our area hotels. Again, he's always out there doing something proactive. He saw a suspicious vehicle in a parking lot. His subsequent investigation led to over $1,500 of pills being recovered, an AK-47, and a handgun. Always staying busy, proactive, and looking out for this community. When it comes to compassion and being empathetic and treating people with respect, Seth is a standard bearer. I received an email from a person Seth dealt with last year regarding a domestic situation. Here's what she said in the email. He used compassion to assure me that the situation was handled, calmed me down, and was empathetic. It reestablished my belief in compassionate police officers who take the time to assess and accurately assess the situation and come to an outstanding solution. This was not the first time I've heard comments like that about Seth from the community or his peers, and I know it won't be the last. One of the most important jobs we have in the police department is that of a field training officer. I'd even argue that while they're field training, they are the most important person in the police department. They really shape and mold new officers and make sure that they do things the Shakopee way. They are mentors, act as supervisors, and it can be a very difficult assignment. In 2024, Seth had over 400 hours of field training time with our new officers. His mentorship and ability to teach new officers is vital to the future success of this organization. As you can see from the comments, both from his peers and the community, it is vital Seth play a significant role in shaping the future of this police department moving forward. I know when I called you and told you that you were the Officer of the Year selected, you were extremely surprised. I can tell you that none of us that know you and work with you were surprised in the least. This is well-deserved, Seth. You're the epitome of what a great, excellent police officer is. We're lucky to have you here at the Shakopee Police Department with the city of Shakopee, and it is an honor to present you our 2024 Officer of the Year Award. Congratulations. Mayor and council, if we can do a quick photo.
I would just add that when the accolades come from those that you work with and those of the community that you serve, that's a tattletale sign of true community-oriented policing, and it's outstanding. Thank you. Item 4B, Minnesota HSEM, Emergency Management Presentation, Director Certificate to Captain Tim Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While Chief Nelson gets up, I'm going to just basically remind council that as we continue to move forward with the changes in our public safety departments, part of that is a shift from taking emergency management from the police department where it currently resides and ultimately putting that in the fire department. And this is a big step towards that, and we're delighted that we're able to present this today and as we continue to move that forward.
Thank you.
Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm excited to be here tonight. I'd like to ask Captain Tim Nordstrom and Mesa Bang, the Director of Training for Minnesota Homeland Security and Emergency Management, come up and join me. Tonight, Captain Nordstrom will be receiving the certificate for Emergency Management Director title through Minnesota HSEM. This is a significant achievement for Captain Nordstrom in earning this, as it takes tremendous commitment and dedication throughout his time to achieve the certificate. I'm told he started it back in COVID, so it certainly takes time to get here. This accomplishment is not only a personal milestone for Tim, but also a testament to the outstanding staff that we have within the organization. Tim is one of 6 members within the Shakopee Fire Department who hold some level of emergency management certificate, although Tim will be the first one at the director level. As Administrator Reynolds stated, the certificate holds a lot of value for the community as we look to transition to the fire department with our emergency management duties. And I fully expect as we work through that transition, many of our certified members will be taking on some role within that transition. Tim's expertise will provide more value than just in the emergency management duties. He'll provide tremendous value within our organization training on various emergency management duties, as well as helping us pre-plan some of our more common and smaller scale incidents. And this certificate will also allow him to play a key role in the incident management system for some of the larger scale or long duration events like our flooding last year, both within our community as well as our mutual aid partners if they were to ask for help or assistance. So before I get into too many details and step on the toes of what Mr. Vang might have to say here, I'm going to turn it over to him for the actual presentation.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor and council members, before presenting the certificate here to Captain Nordstrom, just want to highlight some of the challenges of obtaining the certificate. And the reason why I say they're challenges is because training requires a lot of dedication and time. This particular certificate requires about a little over 100 hours to complete, both online courses as well as in person. Couple that with the basic emergency management certificate that Captain Nordstrom has obtained, we're looking at nearly close to 1,000 hours of personnel time just to obtain both certificates. So it certainly is a milestone and achievement. And as the Director of Training and State Training Officer for the state of Minnesota, I'm very proud to and privileged to present Captain Nordstrom with this certificate, Director Practitioner Certificate in It's been a great pleasure to have him in class, also as a subject matter expert in his field, because what we're really looking at in terms of emergency management is tying all of the local resources we have in terms of fire, police, and local emergency managers. So it's my privilege to present to Captain Nordstrom the Director Practitioner Certificate and an emergency management pin. Thank you very much. Thanks.
If we can get a picture as well.
Take a handful.
All the cool people left.
Yeah.
Item number 5, approval of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
F, sir.
To approve the agenda as presented?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? None, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item number 6, consent agenda. Any changes? Mr. Whiting?
Please pull 6H.
Any other changes to the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as modified.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Delaney. Motion by Mr. Lara. Mr. Reynolds, will you read the record consent agenda?
Yes, sir. These are the consent agenda items for Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. 6A declares surplus equipment and property in public works. 6B purchases 4 2025 Class 3 trucks, street park and facilities, purchases 3 2025 Class 2 trucks for engineering. 6C is our monthly financial report for January 2025. 6D approves plans and authorizes bidding for Phase 2 of the Downtown ADA Lighting and Tree Rehab Improvement Project. 6E is the Cannabis Business Licensing Act. 6F is an ice resurfer vehicle replacement. 6G approves the 2025 tree purchase orders for our annual resident tree sale and our tree replacement program. 6I is a cooperative agreement with Scott County for trail preventive maintenance. 6J is a cellular dialer and fire panel upgrades at various city facilities. 6K is the AARP Community Challenge Grant Program application. 6L is the design, bidding, and contract administration agreement with Confluence for Valley Crest Neighborhood Park and additional work for bidding and contract administration for the Marystown Dog Park. 6M is the Minnesota DNR's Conservation Partners Legacy Grant Program application. 6N is the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency's Implementation Grant for Community Resilience Program application. 6O is the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency's Planning Grant for Community Resilience Program award. 6P is an engagement with Kutak Rock for Economic Development and Bonding Council. 6Q approves the City Council meeting minutes. 6R is a consumption and display permit renewals for 2025. 6S accepts deed and approves a right-of-way maintenance agreement for 1030 Cubisu Avenue.
6T is an appointment of individuals to boards and commissions. 6U approves purchase agreement with Traffic Control Corporation for a signal cabinet at Veerling Drive and Heather Street. And 6V is a contract with SEH for condo survey for River City Center. 6W amends nationwide 457 plan to include part-time firefighters. And finally, 6X is the Minnesota DNR Conservation Partners Legacy Expedited Projects Grant Award.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Now, if we would have had 6Y, I would have made 6Z as the perfect alphabet and probably a record for Shakopee, at least in my tenure, for the longest consent agenda. But at any rate,
Agreeing with that many things?
absolutely. We do have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 7, public comment. If you're here in the audience for an item not on the agenda that you'd wish to speak to council about, now would be that time. So if you're here for something not on the agenda and would like to address council. Seeing none. Item 8, business removed from the agenda. Item 6H was removed by Councilor Whiting. Mr. Whiting?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had a lot of conversations over the years about the development of this bluff area. Originally, we talked about the desire of the city council to preserve the bluff area for public use as far as roads and parkways so that the public could gain as much value out of that view and that bluff line as possible. This development here looks like they've utilized much of that bluff line for backyards, and that was not the goal, and I know staff knew that goal, and I know the developer knew that goal. I'm not seeing it in this plan, so I can't support it.
Mr. Kursky?
So, Mayor and Council, this is an amendment of the PUD District Number 10 and a preliminary plat of the Bluffview addition. So this is the area that's in question. I have another exhibit that actually will show the bluff in a second. So these are the homes. What we do have is, you'll see, city already owns this piece of the bluff over here. As part of this, they will be donating this section of the bluff, and there's a trail system designed to connect to our, if you remember, Pulte Homes is developing this section, and they're building the trail from the original Windermere section to here, and then we'll have this trail that'll run through the bluff as part of a public park piece and end up down here that'll eventually connect down here. This section of the bluff is open to the road, so people will be able to gain access through this entire area. The purple area is not backyards, it will be city park property. And this is a bigger exhibit to give you an idea. So parcel 1 is the parcel you're talking about tonight. Parcel 2 is the commercial and industrial area along 169. Parcel 3 is the remainder of the bluff. So the city already owns this piece over here. We're getting this portion of the bluff as part of this project, and then we're working with an appraisal right now for the city to acquire the remainder of this bluff from the park development fees that will come out of this project. So this will probably be one of the largest parks in the city when it's completed. And if you look at the comprehensive plan, so here's the Pulte piece. You can see this all connects together. These are the existing trails that come through here and will go through the Pulte piece and then along the D.R. Horton piece, and eventually when this piece gets developed, we'll daylight down here and connect across the street. But in the comprehensive plan, all of this is designated open space, and we are preserving all of the area that's in the comprehensive plan as park and open space. So again, this was approved previously by the City Council. What they are doing now is actually adding to the density, so the lots are a little narrower to allow the development of 247 single-family homes. Property, as I said, is guided suburban residential, which is a requirement of 3 to 6 units an acre, and park and open space, so we're getting the park and open space portion that's in the comprehensive plan. They're requesting lots less than 60 feet wide and 6-yard setbacks versus our 7.5 as required by the code. As this is a PUD, they are setting aside 15% of that area that's guided as park and open space in the comprehensive plan and giving it over to the city. Street and utilities are currently not available to the site. If you remember the Pulte plan, they have to bring the sewer and water to this site, so they will not be able to build homes here until that happens. Pulte is in the midst right now of getting their final plans done, but this project cannot move forward until they bring that sewer and water to the site. And again, here's the layout of the lots by color. So the larger lots are over on this side, smaller lots are on the south side, up against the existing D.R. Horton development. D.R. Horton is the final developer of this piece, so they'll be introducing some different product over here that is not in the rest of the Windermere area. And the original plan here was this road was going to go into this site here, but because of the grade and the park and open space that will be coming through here, they've agreed to terminate this road and have it come through here, so this road will no longer connect through this lot. Project will be built in 2 phases. First phase will complete 17th Avenue, County Road 16 to here. The second phase will bring it down to here. We are working with Scott County and the property owner down here to get this last 800 or so feet built so that the county will have a county road that goes from the entire west side of the city through to the east side of the city. This is the last phase that will be needed. So staff recommends City Council approval of the amendment to the PUD and the preliminary plat.
Mr. Whiting?
You can go back to section 4 on your map there, on the bluff line. I think it was one of your last slides you had.
Where?
It's on that slide. There you go.
Okay.
Now, that'd be part of the bluff line I'm talking about. I do appreciate that they've brought that road out to look at that bluff line for a small portion there, but this was part of the original plan for this area, and I think I'm wondering why it looks like street number 6, why street number 6 couldn't be shifted over so that, I know it's that backyard probably falls off there, but that was the whole idea of that development, and I'm wondering if we can't do something with Street 6 and change this a little bit.
Councilmember Whiting, if you could tell me, I can't read this in my scale
It'd
here.
be over in the black squares there, yep. That Street 6 is right to your right there. So if that could be on the bluff line, then we could change some of these. I know there's value in that view, but that was the whole point of our discussion before this development started. It was to preserve that view. Now, I appreciate that we have the open space, but I'm confident that that's not buildable either. So that's why it's coming back to the city. That's the bluff line. So I'm just confused why staff would allow this since they knew the direction we were going with this.
Any questions or comments? I have 2. One, from my perspective, I'm looking at it as, you know, if we wanted to take the whole bluff, you've got a balancing act between property owner rights to develop the property as intended and the city's desire to have a contiguous natural space along the bluff. And I see it as a balancing act. Neither scenario is perfect for either party. If you take out this row of homes, you're making it very difficult probably for the development side. If you purchase a bunch of it and make it so that's really hard to develop, now you're paying a premium because you're going to have to pay for that situation that you created. So it's definitely a balancing act. That's my comment on that. The other comment that I have is, and maybe you can correct me on this one, but on page 49, the first paragraph talks about higher standard designs and aesthetics exceeding current design standards, exceeding window percentages, siding requirements, stone wainscoting on the front, these types of things. This is exactly what they're talking about at the state right now about housing affordability. And matter of fact, I think one senator had that exact same wording and tagged Shakopee to it.
So, Mayor and Council, it's required.
Please let me finish,
Yep.
okay? And when I'm looking at this saying higher design standards than are required, part of that in my mind, again, the balancing act is we're also giving smaller side yard setbacks, smaller lots, and these other amenities that benefit the developer, and in exchange, we're getting amenities that fit the neighborhood. Is that a good take on that?
Mayor, that's exactly correct. So the state law currently requires a higher standard in the PUD, and so we're only requiring it on the front facade. So instead of using vinyl siding, they'll use hardy or LP. That's been true in all of our other PUDs.
Okay. And I guess the last thing I would say, and maybe you can clarify this, is if you look at the skinniest purple portion on the map in front of us, that looks to be maybe 20 feet wide. And I know it's deceiving. It's probably wider than that, and it looks like it's small. So what is that actual distance of that smallest area behind house 1 through 3, 4, I guess it would be?
Mayor, you're talking about this area right here.
Behind them houses in the purple.
Yep.
Purple, yeah.
Mayor, the developer's here and they can answer, but I think we need to, one of the issues we've had with this site, and, the Met Council minimum density is 3 to 6 units per acre. As some of you know, it's being changed to 3.5 under their new regulations. So believe it or not, this barely hits the 3 because of the amount of open space that's required as part of the PUD. But when
Michael, can you pull up page 57, bingo? And there you'll see outlined in the aqua blue is the portion we're talking about. And Mayor, I understand you're concerned about how small that is, but that's only this particular parcel. If you look at it compared, it's actually part of the bluff as a whole.
Correct.
And so it's kind of deceiving. It's not like this is actually separated from the bluff. It is part of the bluff. It's just it's just the property lines are drawn this way.
And Mr. Reynoldson, that's the point I was trying to make in my comments.
Yep.
Where if you look at, it's deceiving if you look at just the purple area behind them 4 homes, you're thinking it's very small. When you, in actuality, it's going all the way across to what we're seeing on the other side.
And Mayor and Council, if you look at this, you can see that all of this area has been farmed. We actually are preserving the bluff area here as part of this project. This area over here has been farmed, and so as part of the next project, the heavier bluff will be picking up. So when we talk about this area down here, it's actually fairly flat. You can see the area they are giving us, which is over here, is where it starts to really fall off. Unfortunately, over time, this has all been graded out for farming, so a lot of the bluff has been eroded, and we're trying to preserve the natural bluff line. Similar to what we did over here, we did allow the developer here to develop these lots because these were flatter, but we did pick up the entire bluff when we had this project. So I think if you want to look at the bluff in total, you really need to look at this, because this is the remainder of the real bluff area that we're picking up.
And then the last question I had was to your very first map, and that was,
This one.
where would somebody access this that doesn't live in the neighborhood, this trail? Where's the closest parking lot? And I know there was some in some other plans that we saw, specifically up on top of the bluff where you have the tower and stuff. There's some parking up there too.
Mayor and Council, there's parking on the street over here, so you would park over by where the new gas station is. And then basically that's where the trails start today. It runs kind of dead ends into the hill, and the other one kind of dead ends to the neighborhood. But as this develops, all of those trails will now be connected to this. And once this is done, our plan is when this piece comes in to connect that trail actually to the other side. And we're working with Scott County on either a marked mid-block crossing or another potential underpass here, so that you really will have a pretty significant loop for the neighborhood.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? Mr. Lara?
I do. So since we're talking about this project, questions I had was regarding the product that they're going to be building. I had noticed through the renderings that there are, I mean, these houses look smaller, and one thing that stood out to me was the one-stall garage. I'm just curious in terms of what price point, and then also a lot of slab on grade, what price point are they hoping to enter these homes at?
So Mayor and Council, the developer is here, but one of the things that was discussed at the Planning Commission, that it's unlikely you'll see very many one-car garage. They have an option on that plan to do a two-car garage, so they'd be very similar to the units that MI Homes built off County Highway 83, where they have a two-car garage, the door, and then space above. Just because that's the reality of the market, they don't think that many people will accept a one-car garage. But again, there's a representative from the developer and D.R. Horton here, and they can talk about price point and unit designs.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that.
All right, there's no other questions of staff. We'll ask for the representative to step forward, please. We appreciate you coming to answer any questions we might have.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Brian Tucker with Summergate Development out of Lakeville. You might recall we were here a couple of years ago and got the preliminary plat approved. We were a little ahead of the curve in terms of the property to the east not being quite ready to go, so we had to kind of put the brakes on and start to work on that. We were able to
Pull that microphone toward you. It's heavy, but it will move, the whole thing. Pick up the base. There you go.
Thank you.
If you can get that close enough so council members and the audience at home could hear you.
Sure. Thank you. So we helped facilitate the acquisition of the property to the east so we could get utilities moving to this Brigham parcel. So we've been working on this for a while. I would say that the mayor kind of hit it on the head when we're talking about the lots up against the bluff. Our first sketch plan that we brought in had lots entirely along the bluff, and staff indicated to us that that was not the city council's objective. Obviously, from a developer standpoint, that's ideal because you have a lot of premium lots. So what we're trying to do here, or what we try to do as staff, is kind of hit that sweet spot where we're minimizing the number of single loaded streets we have through the development, where you only have lots on one side. That just gets the cost structure askew quite a bit. So this was a means of trying to find some open space that had provided some views for residents that maybe were just driving through the neighborhood or lived in the neighborhood but weren't accessing the trail, but also providing a corridor so that we can get that trail all the way through there. And as Mr. Kursky indicated, there is additional bluff space so that the trail's not going to be sitting right there on the edge with no other space before you get to the drop-off. So that was our way of trying to, again, find that sweet spot where we could get a few lots backing up there, minimize single-loaded streets, and still achieve part of what the city was hoping to get, which was some open view shed through there. With respect to the homes, we are working with D.R. Horton. They'll be the builder in this project. And Mike Sewell is here, and he can answer questions about price point and design and those type of things, Mayor.
Any questions on this particular comments? The one comment that I have, we know a 100-year flood coming down the bluff line coming up against these houses is something that has to be planned into this to deal with. So I would just put a flag on stormwater runoff. And I'm sure our engineering department is well aware of that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I guess that brought up a question that may be for staff, but is that what the outlot B is for, stormwater runoff? Okay.
Mayor and Council, that is a stormwater management basin. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sewell, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. We're, as always, excited to be part of your Shakopee. And with this development, as Mr. Kursky pointed out, we're introducing a home that we do not have in the Shakopee market with this development. Just kind of give you a brief overview. We'll have our two-story traditional homes that we have built through all of the Windermere, and we're building in Highview. They are the red color houses up there, so there are 2 stories. Just to give you an idea where the world finds us at in pricing, they're running $650,000 to $700,000 out there now. It's getting hard to figure out how people are buying these homes, but thank the Lord that people are still finding the ways to make it work. The Freedom, as you may or may not remember, these are our one level, more designed for the older crowd, the empty nesters.
Which color is that?
That would be the green.
Okay, and on your handout, what would that be called?
There are Freedom Homes. Let me see which.
Are those going to be HOA maintained?
They're HOA maintained. You get lawn service, snow service. We're going to individual irrigation service just because it works out better with water rates that the individual irrigation comes out of the homes. But it is an HOA maintained mode and snow removal. And then their pricing is in the mid 500s, and it's similar to what we built in Amber Glen by Zumbro in 78 that has the pickleball court. I don't know if you've been up and driven through there. They're the one-level homes. And then lastly, the new home product that we're bringing is the cottage homes. That's the light blue. And what you have in your packet is just the black and white line drawings. They're not designed for Shakopee, so if you looked at them, you'll see sides without the windows on them. This is our standard design that we start with, and then we make the modifications to bring them into compliance with each local city's rules and regulations. So they're not 100% done with what you see here, but we know we can get them to meet your rules and regulations. We can get the hardboard fronts and the stone on them, so we can get that to work. To answer your question on price, the one-car garage is right now running around $420, $425. It's more than we want. We're trying to figure out a way to do it, but when we started this project 12 months ago, we were at $390, but just the world that we live in, prices keep going up, labor keeps going up. We're chasing the price of homes really hard, and we're trying to figure out a way to do it. We, as you know, Horton is a national builder, so that gives us the ability to go out and look at a lot of plans across the country. And other parts of the country are making, finding success with these one-car garages. So we think it will have a mark here where maybe some empty nesters, some single parents that can't afford a two-stall garage home, that they can make this work. Just to provide you with some comparison, the two-stall garage home will be $475.
So if they want a one-stall, they would be able to purchase that?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, based on what we're doing here. And to put it into context, as everybody goes by monthly payments now, the difference between $475 and $425 at the 7% interest rates we find ourselves in, 5% down, everything else being standard. The $425 right now is a monthly payment of $3,100, and the $475 is $3,500. So a homeowner can save just over $400 a month, close to $4,800 or almost $5,000 when you throw in the odds and ends that I didn't use when I rounded my numbers. But so that's where we see it at. We're trying to figure out a way to get homes affordable. I don't know if we'll ever truly get there in Minnesota because land prices, the cost of doing business in Minnesota is quite different than the rest of the part of the country, but everybody works at it, and we'll keep trying.
Mr. Whiting?
I think if that one-car garage package works out, you'll want to make sure your homeowners association agreement allows for parking outside of that garage.
Yep, and just the driveway will still be wide enough for two cars, because we recognize people may have to will have one car in and one car out.
They're going to have visitors.
Some of us have been in
They're gonna have
Shakopee a
people
long
come and
time,
visit and-
remember that one-car garage was pretty standard, so it's not unusual for Shakopee to see a one-car garage, so it works, but we just gotta make sure we think through it. They will be able to build sheds out here.
They will or will not?
Well, they will, because with one car, you need a place to put snow blower, lawnmower, so they will be. And we're looking at our rules just to make sure they're compatible with the homes. We're not going to require top line, but they got to be compatible with the outside exterior looks of the home.
Mr. Lara?
So you're telling me that a slab on grade with one-car garage, one level, is $425,000?
Yes, I am, sir, and I wish I could tell you something different, but we try every day to get lower pricing, and it's just,
I'm just curious to see like how you guys try.
Well, and I was going to ask the question of what's the three biggest drivers to the cost of that slab-on grade home being for $400,000?
land. I mean, just the way life is, land is a very limited commodity in the Twin Cities, because every piece of ground has to wait, like this one, you have to wait till the next one develops, and when that sells, the next one wants more. So land prices just keep going up and up, and there's just such a tight supply of land. There's such a tight supply of homes. I mean, labor is, their increases for labor has gone up 10, 11% is what the trades are getting. Lumber is going up. Take it for what it's worth. The tariff's going to push prices of homes up because lumber, 80, 90% of the lumber comes out of Canada. So last time we saw the tariffs come in, lumber prices went up. So trying to figure out how to break it. So land is roughly, used to be 20%, now it's probably pushing 25 to 30%. When I say land, it's land and improvements. Out here in Bluffview, of 1 foot of street probably adds $3,500 to a house. So if you say we're going to add another garage, make the lots 10 feet wider, it gets 35 grand.
But then on the other side, you've got the problem if you just opened up all the land and didn't have services and tried to run services a long distance to get to the development, the infrastructure cost is going to be more than what the land price was.
Yeah, no, I don't want to come off that I say you should just open up everything, because that opens up a whole different can of worms. I mean, who's going to invest in the sewer and water streets? I mean, I've sat in the city staff spot. I understand that you just can't go out and put a mile of sewer and streets, and that's just the way it is. I have co-workers that work in Texas and other places where they can find 1,000 acres and then go out and develop 1,000 acres at a time. It's just not the way it is in Minnesota. It's just, we're broke up into smaller chunks, and we just all have to keep working. Hopefully.
Our codes are different. I mean, all over the country, you have different codes. We have, we don't have the hurricane issues. We have the tornado and the heavy snow load issues. We have the high insulation for the cold, extreme cold weather. So we have a lot of different things in the northern climate than the southern climate. But then they have the hurricane roofs in Florida and windows and all kinds of other things. So I get it.
Yeah, we try, and I know people at Kepler are trying. I've had conversation with your staff, your administrator, on how we can figure out ways to get homes more affordable, but we keep trying as a group. And I think Shakopee is one of the places where you can actually have good conversations with your staff on how to do it. But one of these days, this group may come up with a better idea, and then we can all retire because we'll be rich and famous, but we haven't quite hit it yet.
Zip ties and duct tape, they're both rich and famous.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions of the applicant? Thank you for coming, Mr. Sewell. Wishes of council. Anybody?
You got it, Jim? I'm not doing. That's crazy. All right, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 020, let's see, 2025-001, approving the amendment to Planned Unit Development District 10 Bluffview for property located on north of the Latour Avenue adjacent to SBU Water Tower in the Windermere neighborhood, west of Zumbro Avenue.
Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second it for discussion. Discussion, Mr. Whiting?
I'm disappointed. I understand the value of the land. Talked about some of those smaller houses. In my mind, that whole Section 4 could be twice as many of those smaller houses or close with maintaining that parkway that we wanted to build as a roadway. I can't support this.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion?
I'm just disappointed in the price point.
Well, I think.
I mean, yeah.
I think it was, well, 2 years ago or longer that Mr. Reynolds made a saying, and that saying is proven to be very accurate. Land, labor, lumber. And we don't control any of the three. And I would go a step further. It's not just lumber. If you buy a shingle or, shingle nails or, the paper that goes over the house, any product that goes into a house or any product that you purchase on a shelf that doesn't go into a house has gone up substantially. And I don't know how to get around that short of getting inflation down, getting mortgage interest rates down. And even if they did get inflation down, I don't know that the cost of things are going to go down. I don't know what the fix is to that. It's certainly not in our wheelhouse. But that doesn't mean we don't continue having conversations and trying to figure out how to have affordable housing. But then again, we have to remember, we're probably one of the leaders in the area for affordable housing. Not too many cities have 4 trailer parks in or very close to their boundaries. I would argue, again, we have a great opportunity in the future to utilize them trailer parks, updating them into them smaller houses, better quality than the old school trailer homes where you might be looking at modular, things like this, which would make a huge impact on the affordability of housing in them certain specified areas, and it would be very consistent with what's already there. So we've got some great opportunities in the future to hit that market too. So, Mr. Thompson.
Ms. Mayman, the council, because there's a council member missing tonight, if this is going to be potentially be a 2-2 vote, I recommend that it would be better to table this till you get a majority, and also you're going to need to prepare certain findings if this is not going to pass, and we don't have those prepared for tonight. So I think a better procedural mechanism would be to wait till you have a full council, find out whether there's majority one way or the other, and if it's not in favor, we can prepare the appropriate reasons. They're not complicated, but I think we should do that.
Okay.
So if you want to withdraw the motion, and then we would make a
That
motion
was
to table.
that was Councilor Lara that made the motion.
I will withdraw the motion and
I'll accept that as a seconder.
okay. And then would the next step be to make a motion to table this until our next meeting?
Yes.
I make a motion to table it.
Is there a second
Second.
to the next meeting?
What's that?
To the next meeting,
Yes.
which would be
March 4th.
4th? Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Mr. Delaney? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That brings us to 9A, monthly financial report. And that would be our, Mr. Reinhardt, our finance director.
Yep. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Presentation tonight will be on the financial results through December. Let me load this up quickly. These are preliminary results, as we'll be posting journal entries and adjusting payables, receivables over the next few weeks, so these amounts will change. None of our financial numbers have been audited. At this point in time, our audit is currently scheduled for the 3rd week of April. And then our final numbers and our audit reports are typically presented in June, so we're still a few months away from having everything finalized. This slide shows the general fund through December. Our preliminary results showed that we ended the year positive, which is always great news. The 4th column over, which is budget balance remaining, shows the preliminary 2024 budget variances. In totals for revenues, we're at 110% of our budget, or a positive $3.7 million. And then expenditures were under budget at 99%, or $257,000 in terms of dollars. The net positive for the year, if you look at the 3rd column over, 2024 year-to-date, the very bottom number on there, we're at $3.5 million. In all likelihood, this number will probably come down a little bit, but definitely a very strong year financially. I do have individual slides on both revenues and expenditures, so I'll get into more details on both of those. The majority of our positive budget variance was on the revenue side, $3.7 million. Taxes, which is primary property taxes, we ended up ahead of budget targets. The city had decertified a couple of tax increment districts, returned that excess increment, and that was redistributed, which was part of that. And then we also had originally budgeted for the Shutterfly tax abatement, which was eliminated in 2024, so we had some savings there. Licenses and permits are exceeding the budget amount, but under what we did the previous year, primarily as a result of building permit revenue. In 24, the city received permits for 12 commercial buildings, 1 apartment, 63 townhomes, and 271 single-family homes. Total permit value this year was $322 million compared to $405 million last year. Intergovernmental is currently ahead of budget targets. $100,000 related to the Shakopee Public Utilities pilot fee being over our budget amount. Our state aid street maintenance for streets came in about $50,000 more. Police state aid was $120,000 more, and then we had some non-budgeted grants like the Pathway to Policing and Age-Friendly Grant. Charges for services also ended up ahead of budget targets, which is kind of was a little surprising to me because we didn't open Sand Venture last year and had about $192,000 budgeted for that, but engineering fees came in about $100,000 over, and then police contracted services about a couple $100,000 over budget. And then for miscellaneous, that includes investment earnings and then our market value adjustment for an unrealized gain, which I'll cover when we get to the investment portion. Sorry for this kind of wordy, busy slide here, but prior to getting into the expenditure slide, I wanted to touch base on our annual adjustment for compensated absences liability, which was a pretty significant impact this year for a few different reasons. We were required to implement a new accounting standard this year, which is GASB Statement 101 for compensated absences. The city was previously required to report a liability for all leave, for us, which it'd be sick and vacation time as defined in a personnel policy that we're required to pay out when an employee was separated. In addition, the city now will have to record a liability for earned leave that employee is more likely than not to use. The most straightforward example would be sick time as part of our personnel policy. Employee accrues and can use sick time, but if they have not been here 5 years, that would not be paid out. Now, based on this new standard, we'd have to determine how much accrued sick time that an employee would likely to use. So for that employee, if we think the employee would use 20 hours of sick time in 2025, we need to now record that as a liability for those 20 hours. This new standard, as well as wage adjustments we've seen in public safety, additional staffing primarily in the fire department, and then safe and sick time where we now accrue time for part-timers, have made this a larger adjustment for 2024. We had budgeted $314,000. The actual amount is more like $1.1 million for the general fund. So it's about a $700,000 change, $786,000 change. I would expect this to be a one-time adjustment, just increasing the liability for this year, and then going forward, we wouldn't necessarily see an annual adjustment this big. With that, that explains why some of these expenditures are slightly higher than last time you've seen them. For expenditures in total, again, we were at 99%, or about $257,000 below budget. We are showing 6 departments over budget. However, the overages really have only a minor impact on our overall financial operating results. I know we did budget amendments in December with the intention of bringing all departments in line with their allotted budgets, but as you can see, it didn't work as planned with a lot of the moving pieces still at that point in time. But for the 6 departments that exceeded budget were less than 1% and can easily be explained by that compensated absences adjustment. Of the other 2, fire is currently over as a result of their new staffing model and being a little under with our assumptions for part-time staffing, uniforms, and training expenses. Building inspections, department was a little over as a result of the Tyler software programming for rental inspections, and then also their credit card processing fees, which was a little bit higher based on their revenue being more than forecasted. There were some departments that came in under budget. Engineering had some open positions that led to those savings. The mayor and council budget, we had less dues than we paid this year, or than had planned to pay this year. And then I had some savings in the street maintenance side, partially a reflection of the winter weather and not having as many snow callouts as we had planned for. So moving on to kind of where we're at to end the year. So the previous slide showed we're at currently about $3.5 million ahead for 2024. As mentioned, we haven't had a chance to fully dive into all the numbers, so there will be adjustments, but it kind of gives you an idea of where we're going to end up. But it'll likely still come down a little bit from this point. So in addition to booking payables and receivables, there are a couple of fund balance adjustments. The first one being for committed fund balance for building permit revenue. That adjustment would be to decrease that balance for open permits we had at year end, which would set aside money for future building inspection costs and related programs. The decrease would be from 2.65 to 2.23 million. Based on our formula for that. And then our fund balance policy is to set aside 35 to 50% of our general fund upcoming operating expenditures budget. If we wanted to maintain that 50%, which we have in the past, it would require about a $1.3 million increase in that reserve. It has been the city's past practice to put any excess general funds towards one-time expenditures. Specifically, we've used it towards capital needs. I think once we firm up the numbers, we'll bring back kind of a plan for that. I would say would likely be ahead, or likely have about 2 to 2.6 million available for those one-time needs. Moving on to investment earnings, or the investment report. Included the full investment report in your packet. This slide just shows the interest earnings from this year, well, 2024 compared to the previous 4 years. The orange line being 2024, we're at about 2.6 million for the year, which is up from last year. The city's investment earnings certainly have benefited from higher interest rates this year. I would say just based on our current mix, I would expect this line to be pretty similar for 2025 as we've seen in 2024 when we look at this chart next year. And then, again, the orange line being on the slide being 2024. This slide compares the unrealized gain or loss or the market value adjustment for investments for the year. In 2022, we had a pretty significant unrealized loss as the interest rates were rising. 2023, as rates declined or held flat, we saw unrealized gain for the year. And then in 2024, at least in comparison to rates at the end of 2023, we saw the rates come down a little bit more, which led to an unrealized gain this year of about 1.6 million. As a reminder, I say this every time, but this is just an adjustment on paper. We plan on holding all investments till they mature, but we do show this adjustment once a year on December 31st. When you combine both interest earnings and the unrealized adjustment, we had a total investment gain for the year of just over 4 million, so not bad at all. I can stand for any questions that you might have.
Questions of staff? No. 2 questions. On your overall sheet, it shows fine and forfeitures at $327,000.
Yeah, so the majority of that money that's comes through is basically the court fines that we pass through to the county for prosecution costs.
Prosecution costs are included in that number?
There are some, the other, lodging tax being turned in late, there's some miscellaneous other fines like that, but they're relatively small.
Okay, I've got to guess that the majority of that is prosecution cost.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
And then the other point was you had a cost for the family leave bill or changes to law to that. And right now they're talking about delaying that potentially for a year, so we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what happens at the State House.
Yeah, so this would be the two different things. So you're basically talking about parental leave, right? This would be the safe and sick time that now part-timers are
Okay.
have the ability to accrue hours, which is for every employer.
Okay, what happens if they delay the family leave by a year? Does that do anything to us at all?
Well, there's an employer contribution portion to that, so that would obviously have savings there, and I think you can do anywhere up to 1.5%. Am I wrong? I'm looking at Chelsea, but it's a small percentage of what it is, and I think you have the opportunity of sharing that cost with the employee. So there's, I want to say for the city, it was half or 0.75%.
Yeah.
That's what we had.
So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what happens. Okay, any other questions for, thank you, Mr.
Yep.
Reinhardt. Is everybody good for the next item, or do you want to take a short recess?
Let it go.
Are we good?
Yeah. Good.
We're good, okay. Item number 9B, Park and Recreation 2024 Annual Report. They'll be getting set up for that.
Waive SAC fees for trailer houses or modular homes. That would be a fun.
I've been trying to do that. They're just not interested.
Well, they talk the talk.
It's pretty frustrating, actually.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I am excited to share a little bit about Parks and Recreation with you this evening. As most of you, I'm sure, are aware, I am still relatively new to the city of Shakopee. I started back in March of 2024. And one thing that I really wanted to focus on as the new director of our Parks and Recreation Department was to really set a strong foundation within our department through our staff. I wanted to focus on our why we do the things we do, and how we as a Park and Recreation Department fit into the overall mission and vision statement of our city. And specifically what we decided to focus on was how we help make Shakopee the place where people want to be. So as a department, we created what we call our purpose statement. So what we settled on was that working together, we provide fun and engaging programs, events, and spaces for the betterment of the community. Quantifying our impact on the community can be challenging, so I wanted to take a moment and share some meaningful feedback that we received from our residents over the past year. One of the most memorable examples for me personally, with looking how Parks and Recreation contributes to the betterment of our community, happened this past summer when I was teaching a lifeguard instructor class at our pool at the community center. I ended up having a conversation with a gentleman who was participating in the open swim time there. He shared with me his long battle with cancer and shared that he had recently received a difficult prognosis, and that his sole goal right now was to enjoy the time he had left and make meaningful and lasting memories with his children. And the fact that he chose to do so that day at the Shakopee Community Center at our pool really resonated with me and kind of reaffirmed that all the meaningful work that we do for our community. So our department is structured into really two key divisions. We have our operations division, which focuses on the management of our recreational facilities. And then we have our program and services division that focuses on putting together all the programs and events that we offer. As Shakopee continues to grow and we work towards achieving our CAPRA accreditation, something that I will touch on more here shortly, it was important to me to ensure that our staff structure really allows us to best serve our community and adapt its needs without disrupting our services. To support this, we made a few key staffing changes this past year within our department. We had a vacancy back in August and decided to restructure our department slightly. So some of the changes we made is we moved our part-time fitness coordinator to a full-time fitness supervisor position. Fitness is rapidly becoming one of the most utilized services within Parks and Recreation, and expanding this position ensures that we have the staff capacity to meet the increasing demand there. Additionally, we moved our recreation coordinator, which was a part-time position, to another recreation specialist full-time. This will allow us to expand our programming for the community while also assisting in developing some of the key standards that are going to be required of us to receive our accreditation. And lastly, we have a new community outreach coordinator, Rachel Bland. She is joining our team on Monday, the 24th, so just in a few days here. We ended up having 64 applications for that position, and it was an incredibly competitive interview process with really some impressive candidates. Rachel's immediate priorities will include renewing our Ice Arena advertising contracts, revamping our scholarship fund to reach more residents in need, assisting with our accreditation self-assessment, and working on enhancing participant feedback, which directly supports one of our strategic plan initiatives by having a participant input program. These strategic staffing changes position us for continued growth so that we can effectively serve the community. So Sherry and Troy are going to provide a little insight in just a moment as to how 2024 compares to our previous years. But what I would like to do is take a step back and look at the bigger picture and provide you all with a little information on how we compare to other park and recreation agencies across the country and in our Midwest region. Each year, Recreation Management Magazine publishes what they call a State of the Industry report, which includes data on cost recovery across different types of recreation organizations. So in this graphic here, you have cost recovery for public governmental facilities like ours, nonprofit organizations, and then private for-profit organizations. So this is the average cost recovery. As you can see, in Shakopee, we are just slightly below the average at 50% cost recovery. One of the key factors to consider, though, as we look at 2024 is our sand venture pool was not open. Therefore, we did not generate any revenue from this facility. However, in an attempt to retain our lifeguards, we got creative and found different opportunities for them within the city, so we still incurred most of our staffing budget for 2024. So as we look into 2025, I really see this going up quite a bit on the cost recovery.
And historically, we have been well above our comparables when it comes to cost recovery. At one point, we were almost at 75%.
Are we at retention? Did we retain most of those lifeguards?
Yes, we did. I think we only had, Sherry, 2? We only lost, what's that? We lost less than 5. One thing to think about lifeguards is a lot of them, they are, your high school or college students, and eventually they want to grow up and pursue their careers. So we do lose some to that every year as well, but we retained most of them. One of the other factors that I found really interesting that came out of the State of the Industry report for 2024 was the annual increase in operating expenses amongst different parks and recreation agencies. The report mentioned that the Midwest saw the largest increase in operating expenses year after year. So in this graphic, you can see the Midwest average increase from the previous year in comparison to Shakopee's, which we are significantly less than the average. All right. One of our significant achievements in 2024 was we initiated the accreditation process through the National Park and Recreation Association. Earning our CAPRA accreditation ensures that we're operating and will continue to operate under the best practices of the industry. The field of parks and recreation is constantly evolving with new trends, and accreditation will help us stay informed and adaptable, allowing us to assess which trends have lasting value and which are fleeting. Beyond industry alignment, the CAPRA accreditation process will strengthen our succession planning and onboarding processes. Through this journey, we have realized that while we've already met a lot of the standards within the CAPRA process, we have yet to document them. They live in our heads, not necessarily on paper, so that's one thing we're working on now. For context, CAPRA accreditation consists of 154 standards. Of that, 36 are required, meaning you must achieve those 36 standards. In addition, you must meet 90% of all of those 154 to receive your initial accreditation, and you must meet 95% to reaccreditate every 5 years from that point on.
What other 4 agencies in Minnesota are accredited?
Good question. I know Rochester is. I want to say St. Paul, and I'm forgetting the other 2. Roseville?
Okay.
No, I will get that third one or that fourth one for you. I know it's down by the Rochester area, but I forget exactly.
Mankato, maybe?
It might be Mankato, but I will double check.
Okay.
So to give you a little overview about where we are in the process, there are 6 phases. We submitted our application back in September of 2024, completed all of our staff training in October of 2024, and now we are on the self-assessment, which is by far the largest part of the accreditation process and by far the most workload heavy of the process. Our goal is to have the self-assessment completed and submitted by the end of 2025 so that moving into 2026, we're prepared for our initial review and our on-site evaluation, and then hopefully have a hearing at the annual conference in September of 2026. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Troy and let him talk to you about some of our facilities.
All right, Mayor and Council, thank you very much for allowing us to come up here and brag a little bit about our wonderful department. So I just want to, this first kind of slide here talks about operating expenses and how we compare them to other community recreation centers. As you can see, Shakopee is much lower than the industry average. This next slide here shows a little bit of the community center utilization, some of the key points that I wanted to touch on with our community center. So we have our indoor playground, our walking track, which is our free amenity, and then you got your daily admissions, so anybody that's coming in to pay for a service, and then you got your membership scans. So any members that we currently have that come in, those are the numbers that they're scanning to come in to utilize the amenities. So,
any thoughts on why the indoor playground dropped off?
Yes. So last year we did have a price increase. That what that did was we had a lot of people that weren't really happy with, the price increase that we did. We did come back and we did change those with council approval, and we brought them back down a little bit, but that kind of did hurt us that one year. So
as I recall, we had a lot of daycares and other community
Yeah.
buses coming in.
That's correct, yeah.
Where would we see the COVID impact? In what year would that be shown? Because we had a
2020,
pretty substantial drop, and then you had, you know, opening back up, and then you get that big return.
So that was 2021.
Okay.
So that was before any of these numbers on this graph here,
Right.
so.
Okay.
All right, so moving ahead to community center membership packages. So in our membership packages, it includes all these different things. So you got your fitness classes, your fitness center, the gymnasium, aquatic center, drop-in programming, indoor playground, fitness orientations, and the other thing that it has on there is the open skate in the ice arena. So all these numbers right here will represent the number of membership packages that we currently have for Shakopee. So it's not the amount of people, it's the amount of packages that we sell on a yearly basis. All right, we'll shift ahead to the ice arena here. So with this, we have door counters on our ice arena, and as you can see, our yearly visits have gone up every year since 2022. And we see this number keep going up as we have, more tournaments and more people utilizing the facilities. So
this is how many times the door opens?
This is correct. Yeah, this will read each person coming in the door, and then it also reads the outs as well. So it gives me a good number of how many people are utilizing the facility. So we do have those numbers on the community center as well. So. All right. So ice arena utilization. These numbers represent all the ice hours that are actually utilized from year after year. So as you can see, we're continually going, moving up. We are getting to the point where there is, we don't have a lot of extra ice. I do get phone calls probably on a daily basis of people that would like to rent the ice. And most times than not, I have to tell them that I don't have anything available. So it is a good problem to have, but we also could use more. So. And then with that, this summer we actually have 18 tournaments booked. In the past, we've had about 13 or 14. A lot of that stems from Bloomington is going to be closed starting in March for the summer, doing renovations. So we've a lot of their tournament directors have come to me. I've probably turned down another 6 or 7 that wanted the same weekend. So it's going to be a busy summer for us over there.
What's the hours that ice availability is bookable? Is there between this time and this time?
Basically we will open up the facility for the demand of people that want to utilize the ice. So right now I'm 6 a.m. is our first kind of rental in the morning, and I see men's groups going until 10:30, 10:45 at night.
So 3 a.m.
Well, 24/7, right?
Could be. If they keep paying, they pay the rent.
Okay. All right, so my last slide here, I just wanted to touch on some of our key partners that we have. You got your Shakopee Hockey Association, which they keep growing and adding strong teams year after year. They've been a very good partner. You got your Shakopee High School team. They're having a the boys are having a great season this year. They actually play their first section matchup on Thursday. That'll be a very busy night against Waconia, and then hopefully they continue on and move forward. They are favored to go to the state tournament this year, so we'd like to see that happen. Another big partner we have is our Shakopee Skate School. They have their Learn to Skate numbers have doubled from fall 2024 to winter 2025. We have many adults in the program
now learning to skate. We also have a record number of first-time participants in our spring ice show for March 29th, 2025. Go for Gold Skating Academy has been successful representing the state of Shakopee, or the city of Shakopee, all over the world. They competed for the Mexican National Senior Women's Bronze Medalist, U.S. Collegiate Women's Champion, National Development Team member, and Shakopee Skate School Academy is widely recognized as a leading competitive skating program in Minnesota and draws from all over the North America to train. And the last partner we have is our training house, Twin City Orthopedics, that utilize that upstairs dryland facility that we have in the arena. They continue to grow, and they have added about 5 or 6 different associations this last year. So they are growing. So that's all I have, and I'll turn it over to Sherry.
Troy?
Yes.
Before you go, thank you for your presentation. Great news. We like to see the ice arena successful, and that's part of my question. You know, it's a few years old now. Are we still, call it cutting edge, and are we still one of the best out there?
Absolutely, yes. You know, my staff is one of the greatest teams that I've worked with in my career, and any new things that I bring to them, they're always willing to jump on and try new things. So any new enhancements or anything new coming forth, there's a lot of different companies that like to come to us to try them, and my staff is more than willing to give them a try. And usually we are, one of the first rinks to try some of these new things. So we still are cutting edge, and people enjoy coming to skate.
Good. Well, if there is something that you need to bring before us, we want to keep it that way in my mind, speaking
Absolutely.
for myself.
Absolutely.
But bring it forward if there's something we can do better.
Mr. Lara.
Yeah, what's the status on the, what was it, a store, like a pro shop? I think they did skate shape sharpening and whatnot there. Is that still vacant?
Yeah, I'll actually take that one. It is vacant currently. We've reached out to a few vendors to try to get them interested in coming aboard. It's a tough space for limited use of having people come in and out, limited traffic. We will continue to try to find a partner, but it is looking less and less likely that that'll be the case. And if that's the case, we'll have to figure out what we're going to do with that space then.
Thank you.
But we've been working on that for probably 6 to 8 months now. So.
The hard thing is with the pro shop business, a lot of different people have skate sharpeners at home. They're very, the newer ones are very inexpensive, and families that have 2, 3 kids in hockey, they're just buying them for the house.
I suppose it's more cost effective.
And then, with the tape, the laces, and all that other stuff, it's just easier to buy stuff online. So these stores, you're just seeing them closing their doors just because it's just harder to run that kind of business. So,
thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It's my turn now to brag about programs and services and all the cool things that we get to do each and every year. This slide represents some of those events and some of the programs. My job here tonight is to kind of go more in depth in what we do and give you a few highlights. This first slide talks about where we are compared to where we were in 2023. You'll see that in all the program categories for our registrations, there has been an increase. There's 2 items that I really want to point out with our numbers being increased, and the first one is aquatics. You'll see that number is almost 400 more than what we had in 2023. It's really important to remember that we did not open Sand Venture, and these were all our indoor lessons. And because of the way we've been able to maintain our staff levels, you might remember a few years ago, we were all talking about the shortage of lifeguards, the shortage of aquatic staff. We've really worked hard within our department to hire, maintain, train, and retain what we have, and so that we're able to grow those numbers and meet the demand for the aquatics that we have in the community. The other item is our fitness programs. Both Kelsey and Troy mentioned that the fitness programs that we do as part of the community center memberships is really important, and it's really popular. And it's really, I think, one of the driving forces behind why we have as many membership packages as we do. If we could do water aerobics classes 7 days a week, 24/7, we would have people coming. Unfortunately, we have to balance our other activities we do in the pool, like our swimming lessons, like our open swim, and being able to offer a wide variety of things. So our fitness programs continue to grow, and that's another one of those reasons why we increased our fitness coordinator to a fitness supervisor. The walk-ins that you see here, the 16,000, some of these are part of the numbers that Troy gave with community center daily admissions, but these are numbers of people that are coming into the community center for a specific type of activity, whether it's pickleball, open basketball, tot time at the aquatic park. We have CC Playtime, which is different than our playground. It's a time where kids can bring their trikes and bikes into the gym and ride around on these cold days.
Are the walking trail, walking path included in these numbers, or are they backed out?
The numbers for the indoor walking track are not part of this number. Okay. This is specific to the types of activities I mentioned.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. There we go. In the next few slides, I want to highlight some of our actual programs from our preschool youth, active older adults. I'll talk a little bit about aquatics and our special events. First off, I wanted to talk about our Camp Little O's program. This is a program that typically was only offered in the summer in the past. We have increased that number to be through the school year, both mornings and evenings. It's a program where we've seen the need for, since COVID, when we lost Kids Cove and didn't have that drop-in childcare, this is our way of reaching out to those individuals that are looking for an option to have something for their young child to do and then still go work out. So we're trying to fill that need. Summer Day Camp is becoming our new summer staple of our programs. It used to be our T-ball, our near ball, our swimming lessons. Swimming lessons are still a staple, but our day camps, a few years ago, we only offered 1 week-long, all-day-long program, besides all the other things we've done. In 2024, we increased that to 8 weeks of day camp, with 95% of them being filled. In 2025, we've bumped that number up to 10. So we're going to be offering 10 full weeks of programming as an option for families who are looking for that summer childcare option. Our active older adults. This is our one population since COVID that has rebounded successfully, and every year it keeps increasing. It's known on a national level that social isolation is the one thing that really hurts our older generation. They lose some of their family members. They move to a new community. There's no way of keeping them involved. It's our senior programming that we want to try and keep those people active, social active, and young at heart to keep them viable parts of our community. Let's see. Programming. So I touched a little bit on our swim lessons already. Again, we offer our programs year-round. We do group and private options available for all ages. We have a group of men from Minneapolis coming in to do some adult lessons with us. We have the preschoolers, we have private swim for people who really want that one-on-one option to learn how to swim. Again, the numbers continue to go up, and I think as Minnesota, as a land of 10,000 more lakes, it's one of those things that a lot of Minnesotans do when they want to be able to make sure their children are safe around the water. You've heard us talk to you before about our Women's Water Safety Day and our water safety days that we have. It's a program that continues to be successful. We asked the participants why they keep coming back, and one of the main reasons that we hear is that the women in women's water safety, they want to learn how to swim, and so that when their kids go swimming, they feel comfortable around the water, and I think that's really important. The City of Shakopee has been an American Red Cross authorized training provider for years, and what that allows us to do is, like I mentioned before, how we hire our staff, we maintain them, we train, we retain, and we promote. Our full-time staff have now become authorized instructors for both water safety instructor and lifeguard training instructors. And that means that when our staff need to be recertified, we don't have to send them elsewhere. We can now do it all in-house. So that's a really big plus for us. Oops, getting ahead of myself. Our special events. This is one of the things I think that is the most exciting part of our department of programs and services. The three that I'm highlighting here tonight are ones that have been a traditional, long-standing event, a newer event, and just a very large event. The Happy Birthday America Parade is a program that's been around longer than I've been employed by the city, so a long time. It has been something that has been on everybody's calendars. People come back with their kids, their grandkids, and participate in the little walk to celebrate our nation's independence. We have had a sponsor of that event for over 40 years. And I want to give a shout out to the Shakopee Valley Lions, because since we've had this event, they have been a part of it with providing popsicles for the kids to come and have after the parade. And I think they look forward to that event as one of their mainstays. We've talked to them about doing other sponsorship with other programs, and no matter what, they said this will be one event that they will always be a part of. And I think that's really cool. Our pop-up putt and play is an event that we do that really highlights our creativity of our staff. This is an 18-hole golf course that we set up inside the community center gym. In 2024, we had over 120 people participate, but I think how we grew this event from years past is we added a special session in the morning for our active older adults to come, and we added a sensory-friendly portion of the event so that people with kids that had special needs, neurodivergent children, where they can't handle all the lights and the sounds, we allowed them to come and participate and not be at a distraction for the kids. Our Spooky Family Fun event, it's our Halloween event. Hubert Park this year was jammed with participants, with vendors. We had food trucks, we had music. It's one of those events where it's community-wide. It's a free event. 2 years ago, we got rid of charging people for it and worked with our sponsors and everybody so that we were able to still put on a great program. One of the most important things we do after a program happens is we send out surveys to our participants. We need to know how we are doing so that we know how to improve. So our surveys ask the questions: did we meet your expectations? Was the fee appropriate? Was it too expensive? Were the staff knowledgeable? Did we have enough staff to the number of kids that were in the program? Not all the feedback we get is good, as you can see from the middle comment. But it takes those negative comments too in order for us to be better. And that's really important so that we can continue to grow and meet the needs of the community. Moving on to parks. 2024 brought new amenities to our active park scene. This was the first full year of dedicated pickleball at Lions Park. Lions Park also had our disc golf course undergo a major renovation. And I'll talk a little bit more about the disc golf course in a few slides. Another great new amenity that we added to the parks was the fitness court at Scenic Heights. Although we did not actively program that fitness court in 2024, we are adding it to our fitness classes this upcoming summer. Our youth athletic associations, 2 amateur baseball teams, and private rentals continue to use our athletic fields near capacity. Another way that, and it's much harder to quantify, is the amount of users that we have that just want to be out in our parks. People who are going for a walk, enjoying the trails, going fishing out at Quarry Lake, or even hammocking at the new Westminster Park. According to a February 2024 NRPA Park Pulse survey, 92% of adults experience a positive mental health boost after spending time in their local parks. I think that's really cool. That's a really neat statistic. With our park shelters, we did see a slight decrease in the overall number of park rentals in 2024. In 2023, we had 254 renters. In 2024, we had 233. We attribute that decrease to a couple of things, one being the summer floods. We lost some of our rentals at Huber Park as well as Memorial, and also with the redevelopment of Memorial Park going back to a more passive nature area, that's not being rented as often. Getting feedback. So Lions Park disc golf. This information we are able to get from an app called UDisc. And the use of technology in order to learn more about who and where our users are coming from is tremendous. From this slide, you can see that there were over 8,200 rounds of golf played in 2024. That's from just a little over 2,000 separate users. So somebody going out there is playing more than once. They're coming back because they like the course so much. We have had, I believe we have had 32 different states come play. So people coming from other states, 32 other states have come and participated and played on our disc golf course.
Excuse me, Sherry?
Yes.
It says UDisc. Is that some sort of app that people are using?
Yes, it's an
so
app.
you're collecting the data through this app? Okay.
Yep, so they go out and play, they put their information in the app, and it tracks how many times they do. So we probably have had more users out there, but I think this is still a really interesting way to be able to track who's coming from, you know. Wow. And that's a lot of steps that they're putting in to go play. You'll also notice on the graph to the right for 2024, the kind of orange and then the dark green for August and September, that's right after we did the huge redevelopment of adding the new baskets, adding the Mando, and adding the new cool features.
You want to explain the mandatory obstacle with
Yes,
the Mando?
the Mando, yep. or I call it the Mando Calrissian.
It's funny, yeah.
We also get feedback from our park shelters. So every Monday after the weekend, our staff sends out a survey to our park users so that we're able to track how we're doing with our park renters. Did they find the space clean? Did they find it, did it fit their needs? Were staff helpful and courteous? How was the process of renting it? Our park shelters continue to be a place where people will do their graduation parties, their birthday parties, celebrations of life. They remain to be very popular. Last but not least, our partners, sponsors, and donors. I've tried to remember all of them, going through our lists and everything, but these organizations help us do what we do. Without these organizations, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. From being premier sponsors to help us put on our concerts at Huber Park, to being sponsors and friends of the event at a lot of our active older adults. Without them, we couldn't do it. Some of our biggest partners are our fellow city staff. Our Public Works Department, our Fire Department, our Police Department, our communications, you name it. Without them, we couldn't do it. And it wouldn't be fun without them. So thank you to these partners, sponsors, and donors, and we continue to look forward to another great year in 2025.
Okay, so to wrap up, as we look into 2025, some of the goals and objectives that we're looking forward to is completing our CAPRA self-assessment. While Troy and Sherry were speaking, we were able to find out that it's Minneapolis, St. Paul, Rochester, and Roseville are the 4 other cities in Minnesota that are CAPRA accredited. We are looking to revamp our scholarship program to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our residents and they can participate in our events, programs, and facilities. And we are also getting new cardio equipment. Our lease is renewing this year for our community center, and we're also looking forward to having fitness in the park out at the new fitness court. And most excitingly, our newly renovated Sand Venture Aquatic Park opens on June 6th of this year.
You're here.
And with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions if there are any.
Mr. Whiting.
Any water aerobics plan for Sand Venture?
That is a good question. I do not know that off the top of my head. Some things that we are looking at Sand Venture is doing some adult nights and partnering with Tommy's Malt Shop to try and get our adults out and enjoy the pool without their children. But we can certainly look into having water aerobics out there as well. We do tot time, and that's quite popular.
I was thinking of opportunities to program it, and you said the aerobics was, if you could schedule it.
I'm not sure about the actual water fitness classes, but we do a fitness in the park. Sand Venture and Lions Park is one of our sites we go to. So.
Okay.
A short first season, and I think everybody is going to be looking at the off factor, checking it out, seeing what it has to offer. And I would guess that the following year would be the opportunity year.
We could have snow up until that day. I mean, it could happen.
Well, if you want to go swimming outdoor tonight, let me know. I'll go watch. Bird.
We hope we don't have snow on June 6th, knock on wood.
Any questions? Well, normally we would open much sooner than that, I would imagine.
Then June 6th?
Yes.
The reason why we open on June 6th is because that is when school is out of session. We always time our opening around there, mainly because we won't have our lifeguards ready to lifeguard because most of them are in school. We are fortunate enough to get some college kids that come back and guard for us, but we do a lot of training up until that point. This year we'll do even more training than normal just to get them used to the new features and look at, are there any things that we need to reevaluate with the new amenities and make sure that we're operating a safe facility. So we'll do quite a bit of training out there in the month of May.
Nice.
I could see some opportunities for rentals, for pool parties, not using the pool, but actually, using just the site.
Yes, so our reservations opened for like our group rentals, I want to say the first Monday in February, and we are already seeing those roll in. And one thing that, I wasn't here, but according to our aquatic supervisor, private rentals of the pool weren't really a big draw in the past, and we've already had several inquiries about that, so we're working on seeing what we can't do to make that work.
Nice.
Any other questions? Well, thanks for your in-depth presentation. I think you hit on a lot of different topics in your presentation, and I would have to say that there's a lot of options for the folks out there that want to utilize services. So,
Absolutely, that is our goal.
well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just keep those pickleballers and those hockey parents happy.
Item number 10, liaison reports. Where did I start? Lara?
Sure, I'll go. Just on February 12th, Wednesday, it was the Main Street breakfast at O'Brien's. It was just the chamber giving Main Street updates in terms of, basically there's like a refresher of what we learned at their annual meeting. And then Michael came and gave an update on the lighting project down there, because a lot of people had questions on that, so that was it.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Whiting?
Nothing to report. My liaison is tomorrow.
Mr. Delaney?
Thanks. Shakopee Public Utilities, we're still going through a couple of households going through the opt-out side process for various reasons. Of course, got my own letter here. To date, there's been over 18,000 electrical units installed, about 2,000 remaining. Everything will be completed this year. Solar access charge will be up on our next utility meeting. We're going to review the charge, and then we did some comparing to other cities to see what they're doing. But you got to understand, whether you're pushing or pulling from the grid, you're still using infrastructure which has to be maintained. So that's one of the discussions. Had a meeting with the general manager, one of the other commissioners that talk about water treatment site, AMI, solar, and other topics. 169 Coalition. My first time going to Transportation Day at the Capitol was sponsored by the Transportation Alliance. As part of our, advocating for transportation, we did bring up the bridge. That was one of the things Mr. Reynolds was asking, and all three of them said they're working on it. As far as our pedestrian bridge, getting that lighted. We talked about the funding gap for 13, of course, getting those stoplights pulled to get that throughput all the way from 169 over to 35, which will help alleviate some of that. And also our RBT study. I think I got that right. Rapid Bus Transit Study.
BRT.
BRT.
That's rapid, yeah.
I'll flip the letters. BRT. They linked that 55 down to 41. And I think that did get funded, if I understood the discussion we had. Did get a unsolicited feedback on our engineering and public works. They said the guys do an outstanding job, so that just wanted to pass that along. Again, I agreed, but just wanted to make sure I passed that along. There'll be a groundbreaking for 282-169-9. I think that's in April. Coalition is helping out, also helps us to do some outreach to push some of the priorities that we're championing. And met with County Commissioner Brennan, and we talked about Marshall, which I think is coming back to the council, one of our council meetings as far as another presentation and details.
Talking about what?
Marshall, the
Marshall Road project.
Oh, okay.
Marshall Road project. And what else? MLC breakfast. Anybody talk about that yet?
I was going to.
Oh, you're going to talk about it?
You were there. We were all there.
We're all there, and staff also. That's all I got. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Friday, November 7th, we did the MLC breakfast. Big attendance. Housing, big topic. All of us council members were in attendance with our staff. Tuesday, February 11th, I met with a couple here at City Hall about the smart meter issues and the opt-out concerns by some residents. February 12th, met with Scott County staff and Commissioner Brennan. There was actually two topics. One was the Marshall Road statistics. We went over statistics of Marshall Road, which was helpful, I guess. Crashes, you know, how severity, things like that. Car counts, past, present, expectations in the future. But we also talked about river crossing capacity, and I've said it a million times, not only on 169, but I'm to the point to where I don't really care where they put it as long as it's somewhere. It was 20-some years ago that they told me they were going to build the 41 river crossing to 212, and here we are 25 years later, never, I think they did a phase 1 environmental assessment over the fence or something. And we know growth is going to the west, whether it's us, Jordan, in between, Belle Plaine, whatever. But anywhere that extra river crossing capacity is put is going to lead to 169 and enhance 169. And if it removes capacity from the current river crossing, that benefits some of the things we're doing also, because that capacity could go towards some of our entertainment needs too. So, but the bottom line is the river is a barrier and there needs to be capacity, and the people higher up that plan regional stuff, Met Council included, MnDOT, they need to be looking at this whole southwest area and the total river capacity. And, you know, I pointed it out years back at a meeting. If you just look at a big map and you look at Cedar Avenue, 35W, 169, it kind of tells you the rest of the story, right? You just got to have it if you're going to keep building. So hopefully that gets somewhere. Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. A couple things. First of all, Mr. Jordan and I had a discussion earlier today. We want to bring to you just a brief update on the 4th of March about our 169 study. I know that all of us share a lot of concern with 169, the state of play of 169, the amount of time that our police and fire departments spend on 169. Clearly areas of 169 that have a higher crash rate than anywhere else around. And you know, obviously this is something that we've been working for a while, but Mr. Jordan will give an update on where we are with that. It just kicked off a couple weeks ago. Very much want to keep you and the community informed on that, because it is probably one of the biggest issues, as we all know, that we face and that has an impact on us daily. So expect that in March. And we will continue to update you as we move along. Today was a day of awards. Pretty amazing. We had a couple from our public safety earlier. But Chief Tate actually got an award on behalf of the department earlier at the county board meeting. He and the department received the Commissioner's Circle of Excellence Award for 2025. In recognition of outstanding commitment to human service clients for the Scott County Coordinated Response Department. Him along with the Sheriff's Department, the City of Savage. This is one of the best programs currently out there, impacting not only our residents, but also the ability of our police department and our officers to really make a difference. Our officers are not social workers. So why not put a social worker in the department, have them work with the officers and be able to do their social work stuff with our residents that clearly need help. That's what this award was for. It's a groundbreaking program. The county wants to expand it to all of the cities. It's an excellent program, and congratulations, Chief Tate and your department for being a part of that. And speaking of bridges, Mr. Jordan just got back from receiving an award. I love how engineers try to make everything a little bland. No offense, Alex. It's the MnDOT AGC 2024 Bridge Construction Award for bridge number 70054. The pedestrian bridge over US 169. And so for exceptional bridge construction work on bridge number 70054, presented to the city of Shakopee. Great project. Now if we can get the logo lit, everything will be done on that bridge and we can close it out totally.
Was there a lighting issue on that bridge that I heard of?
It's a bureaucracy issue, Mr. Mayor.
Another one?
It's not a lighting issue, it's a bureaucracy issue. The I'll speak off the record with you.
All right. I think it was going to be LED, wasn't it?
We have LED, but the
walkway
logo,
itself.
but the logo
The
is the
LED
issue.
portion is working?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The logo portion is not.
The logo portion
Got
is
it.
not currently
All right.
hooked up.
Anything else from staff?
That is it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Other business? Oh, wait, city bill list, 10A.
No questions.
No questions, sir.
Okay. 11, other business?
None for me. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adjourn to March 4th, 2025 at 7 p.m.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? None, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned.